Welcome back to part 2 of Jin-Woo's first relationship. Part 2, the date between Jin-Woo and Hunter Park Hee-Jin. Let me know if you like this content and how you feel about solo leveling, and if you like this content that I'm coming out with, and what you would like to see next in the relationships with Jin-Woo. And now, onto the video. Jin-Woo is waiting on Hee-Jin for their date. As he is waiting for her, he decides that the next day he will retake the Hunter evaluation. As he finishes that, Hee-Jin calls out to Jin-Woo as she is blushing, as she is looking cute for him, asking how she looks. Jin-Woo looks at her and blushes, and says that she looks cute and adorable. She smiles and hugs his arm and holds his hand as she asks where they're going to go for their date. Jin-Woo thought for a moment and asked Hee-Jin if she is okay with getting coffee, and snakes at a coffee place he likes as they just talk and be with each other. Hee-Jin smiles and says that she is perfectly fine with that and is happy that he wanted to do something with her. As they arrive at the coffee shop and order their drinks and sit down, Jin-Woo says that this is his first time dating someone as cute as her, as he makes Hee-Jin blush when he says that. Hee-Jin reaches her hand over the table and holds his hand on the table and tells him that she's just happy that he decided to give her a chance to go on a date. Jin-Woo smiles and agrees with her and smiles, and Jin-Woo notices that the coffee place is weirdly quiet. He looks around and sees that everyone is looking at them blushing bad and wishing they had a relationship like that, as Jin-Woo says what everyone goes back to what they're doing and not draw attention on them as they get their coffee. And Hee-Jin gets her coffee and cake she eats and offers Jin-Woo a bite. Jin-Woo says he will take a bite if she wants him to have one. She offers a spoonful of cake and tells Jin-Woo to say as Jin-Woo opens his mouth and closes his eyes. Hee-Jin takes the opportunity and kisses Jin-Woo on the lips. Jin-Woo is shocked but kisses her back. When they finish their kiss, Jin-Woo blushes and says he wasn't expecting that, but is glad that she did kiss him, making him blush, and takes the moment to spoon feed her as payback for kissing him. As Hee-Jin blushes at what Jin-Woo is offering to do, she gladly takes a bite from her spoon that Jin-Woo is holding for her. She smiles and thanks him. She looks around and sees that everyone is staring again, this time with a bigger blush and bloody noses, as they witness how cute they are being toward each other. She smiles and asks Jin-Woo to feed her more, as he gladly does for her as she takes another bite from the spoon. When they are done with their coffee and cake slice, they leave holding hands, making the people there cry, wishing they had a relationship like they are. As they are walking, Jin-Woo looks at her, sees her smiling, and takes the opportunity and kisses her forehead, making her blush. He smiles and says that's payback for kissing in the cafe. Jin-Woo hears her say worth it. He smiles and tells her he loves her, making her blush more. He tells her to stop, since they are in a perfect area for a picture. He tells her to pose for the picture. As she does, he takes the picture and smiles and then kisses her on the lips after seeing it. As she blushes and is shocked, she kisses back and says no fair since he surprised her with that one. Jin-Woo says fine, she can take a picture of him. As she does, she smiles and takes a picture of him and then hugs him and holds his arm and asks him not to leave her. Jin-Woo gets shocked for a second and promises that he will never leave her and hold her tight and promises he won't go anywhere and doesn't plan on leaving her ever. Hee-Jin smiles and holds him more, and then asks if they can go back to his place, because she's a little tired. Jin-Woo agrees, and takes her to his place, and lays her in his bed, so she can rest, and closes the door behind him. As she is laying in his bed, she says it smells like him, and is glad that she is with him, and that she will always be there for him as she falls asleep on his bed. As Jin-Woo closes the door, Jina sees him and teases him, and asks if that's his girlfriend, and starts asking him multiple questions, wanting to know everything about Jin-Woo's new girlfriend. Jin-Woo answers all of Jina's questions. After he thinks she's done asking questions, he takes a sigh of relief until Jina asks when she's going to be an Annie, which makes Jin-Woo blush bad and freak out, and tells Jina to shut up and to not say that in case Hee-Jin is listening to them, since his room is right next to where they are. Hee-Jin, who was half asleep, heard what Jina said and blushes bad in Jin-Woo's bed, and says to herself she doesn't mind having kids with Jin-Woo if he wants kids. This is the end of part 2 of Jin-Woo's relationship. Next episode, 3, the pregnancy of Hee-Jin and Jin-Woo's kid coming.